I request Dion D'Souza, Anjali Purohit, Anand Thakur, Praful Shilidhar, Mustansar Dalvi, and Kamal Vora to come and take their seats. I'd like to thank all of you for patiently waiting for the last session, and I sincerely hope that we've saved the best for last. There's something intriguing about a quiet debut of poems. Dion D'Souza is a poet and short fiction writer living in Mumbai. His work has appeared in several Indian journals and was featured in the Big Bridge Anthology of Contemporary Indian Poetry 2015 and 40 Under 40, an anthology of post-globalization poetry in 2016. He was shortlisted for the Toto Fund's The Art Creative Writing Award in 2013 and for the Red Leaf India Poetry Award in 2014. He completed his postgraduate work in English literature from the University of Mumbai and has been working in the publishing industry for the last 10 years. His first collection of poems, Three Doors, was published by Poetrywala in 2016. This is his first reading at Kala Ghoda, and I encourage you to applause for a debutant poet and buy his books. And 3 cheers for Poetrywala for bringing poetry back into our lives. And how? Over to you, Dion.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to be reading from my first collection of poems, as she just mentioned. It's called Three Doors. And I'm going to start with a poem about an important figure in Buddhist scriptures. A bandit who would not only waylay and slaughter travelers as they pass through a forest, but also chop off their fingers and then wear them around his neck in the form of a necklace. Angulimal. There came a point when he could no longer count their fingers on the fingers of his own hands. He beamed with pride, satisfied. A man, a garland or necklace of sliced fingers. Some people collect stamps, rare books, vintage records, cars. Here was a brigand with a fondness for bodily souvenirs. What prodded this mania to maim? Was it indeed a pupil's abject devotion to his master, the envy of others that tricked him into attacking travelers, numb in their inability to grasp? There are not digits enough to number the world's injustices or to fathom the quiet, fierce power that eventually led Angulimal to mend his ways, quit fingering around. Thank you. This next poem is about paint peeling off a freshly painted wall. Wall poem. It is worrying that the perfection of a newly painted wall should be so soon and easily marred, that the newness of nothing eventually lasts. Nothing withstands the assaults of time. Ageless ruins survive, bearing their shattering testimonies of how freshness turns foul, how decay, having gnawed away at novelty, stares at you out of 100 soft, sad, porous, triumphant eyes. You feel anger, helplessness, a vague sense of regret, something that a new coat will fail miserably to repair. All the same, the heady scent of fresh paint, evanescent spirit of courageous comfort. This next poem was inspired by a painting by the 15th century Dutch artist Hieronymus Bosch. The subject of this painting is the surgical procedure known as trepanation, which basically involved drilling a hole into a person's skull in an attempt to pull out a stone that it was believed would cure the patient of insanity, stupidity, or depression as well. What's interesting about Bosch's painting is that he sets it in the open countryside, and the patient in this case is a stock character from contemporary Dutch literature, that of the old fool known as Lubbert Das. The extraction of the stone of madness, cure of folly. Steeped for too long, tea leaves lend a bitter taste. Aside, what is the flavor of baptismal waters, of the oil used to anoint the gravely ill? But this poem is not about beverages, or for that matter, precious chrisms. It is about a painting by Mr. Bosch, who depicts a time, a people, very nearly steeped in ignorance, in superstition, which is pretty much every age, until we've had the good fortune of learning better. But that is another matter. See that old man over there, that bald clown? The surgeon with a funnel fixed on his head, his movements slick with methodic ease. The solicitous old woman looking on with studied awe and astonishment, a book carefully balanced atop her skull, and a priest or a monk, perhaps, in a black robe, a holy witness to the harebrained spectacle. What should have come out was a stone, plain and simple, no magic trick, no miracle. Instead, we are presented with a tulip, an artistic pun. There's another, a flourish of sorts, already lying on the table. Where did that come from? And why, when the old buffoon beseeches the funny, funnel-headed quack to excise the earthy cause of his condition, does he announce that his good name is Lubbert, Lubbert Das? The next poem is about a common household pest and its aspirations to conquer our planet. Do silverfish dream? I am a silverfish. I bow my way through paint tediously, tenaciously, tiny mouth, tinier even than the eye of a needle, weaving a voracious way for my dot-sized body through an edible world. I eat the moisture in the paint. I eat walls. I am a wall. I eat whole buildings, towns, nations. I am earth. I am a speck in the universe. Thank you. The next poem is about a maid who would do the dishes at my previous workplace. The Case of Kashibai. Drum beats of damnation, but it's only the cutlery, the crockery, sent crashing and clanging from basin to drawer or rack by the simmering cleaning lady. Imagine our little surly Sisyphus, our Sarpus with hitched up sari, trudging up and down the staircase, the dishes forever accumulating, what appetites they have, how much they eat all the time, can't even clear up their plates, muttering hopeless curses under her shortened breath, heaping abuse upon abuse in her cluttered brain, the sudsy steel wool stuff of her patience, worn out against tit-bit-top Tupperware and greasy melamine. Behold, a bowl comes rolling out, tumbling as if teasingly, almost awaiting the weary hand that will retrieve and restore it to its impermanent niche. The next poem is about a huge menace that plagues our city and is, as a matter of fact, plaguing us this very evening. The Nightmare of the Mosquito. As the man advanced slowly, moving as if through a monotonous dream, fumigating equipment in hand, the smoke rising heavenward behind him, pungently engulfing the low walls, the people, their small homes and lives, cluttering the narrow lane, a boy in a red vest, breathless, came bounding onto the road. The next poem is about a photograph that was taken when I was very little. Image. There used to be a photograph of you and your mother, of you in your mother's arms, a small grey pond in the background, a few ducks, your mother's big sunglasses. That was another country of which you have no memory. There was only the photograph, a snapshot snatched from life's relentless reeling on. And now, even that is gone. Whose was that long shadow in the corner by the wall? A mysterious witness to an incident unmomentous enough to leave no imprint on the fickle film of memory. It was only you, peering in from across the dark room of time. I'm going to end with a very short poem. This is a poem that is part of a larger sequence that I began working on following a trip to Hampi, the capital of the Vijayanagara Empire, in 2014. And one of the highlights of the trip for me was being able to cycle around the village. You could just be riding through these fields at one point, and you could just drop your cycle and just take in these amazing ruins. It was beautiful. And this poem is about this steep incline that one encounters not far from modern Hampi Bazaar. Towards Hampi Bazaar, or how to avoid crashing into passers-by and vendors' carts. Muscle needing the mount uphill, almost impossible. Now, stop pedaling. Sometimes you have to let go. Go slow. Yes, flow. Brake lightly as you descend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dion, for the wonderfully eclectic collection of poems that you read. Next up is our very own Anjali Purohit. Anjali Purohit is an artist and a writer based in Mumbai. She writes fiction and poetry, and her work has been featured in anthologies and literary journals, including Folk Quarter Magazine, Anti-Serious, Anthology of Contemporary Indian Poetry, Desi Lit, India Write Chalk, Indian Writing from Around the World, Urban Voice, and Suvarna Rekha. She's also the founder of Cappuccino Readings, an initiative aimed at fostering a literary cafe culture in Mumbai. Let's give a big round of applause to Anjali Purohit.
Thank you, Jennifer. Actually, it's a privilege not only to read at Kalaghoda, but also to be in this. Is there an echo? Yeah. In a place sort of shuts out the world sometimes for you, because there is a college, a library on either side of hope. And that is so beautiful that sometimes you wish you could just stay here. I will read 4 short poems and then 3 small poems in translation on a book that I have been working on. The first poem is called Birds. Together we watch the evening unbutton the clouds and touch the dark velvet of the sky, and the night envelops us in her kindness as she dims the stars to a soft, lambent light. You put out your hand and pluck them one by one, the ones you promised to fill in the parting of my hair. We shut out the thrum of kettle drums from the place where ignorance and power are being wed. And then again we slip into the warmth of the night to find the space that lies between being and non-being, a Hobson's choice, a cat both dead and not so, at one and the same time, until you decide to open the box and look inside, or open your eyes and look outside. And we must swim in this sequence, both real and unreal, because the night has chosen to hold us tight in her comforting darkness against the dawn, and shield from our sight the light that throws macabre shadows twisting into lurid shapes. But then how long till she tires of us and lets go to set off in pursuit of new loves that need her cloak? And we are left to see this jaundiced sun that has risen so high but strobes on and off behind the circling vultures that swarm the sky. And some take position on every barren tree stump, barely waiting for flesh to turn into carrion. It's cold, dark, and chill, even in this blazing midday sun. The second poem is called Warren, and it's a prose poem. And what I have tried to experiment with is that it does not have any punctuation. I imagine that it should flow. Warren. This morning I noticed there was a tunnel that runs from my house to yours, my desires, discarded every night as worthless as used condoms on the brothel floor, lay heaped against the wall in a corner, hiding the cavity so expertly, like a magician who shoots an arrow and it flies in the opposite direction, seeking vengeance from a day filled with monotony, looking for escape, and it churns a hunger as turgid as the seeds in the earth when girls become women and women become girls while the river flows on oblivious to the light that falls on its waves, wanting them to rise and to birth 100 sons, yet the earth births a daughter who will stay close to her side and share her ache, since the black soil is wet with humus and sweet is the smell of decomposition that leaves a skeletal filigree behind, as delicate as she has been, but eventually they are only bones. For the flesh has disappeared, some torn away by the teeth of hyenas who must necessarily feed their passions, and other sinews given willingly in bargain for pleasure, for duty, for buying peace and respite from a thirst that will never be quenched even by 1,000 rivers, a thirst that rises from the depths of desperation and fear that rises from deprivation, and the dread that she will be cast out with such a weak hand against an opponent who holds all the trumps. And yet, she lifts the mass in that dark, forgotten corner, and suddenly there she finds a tunnel that she can pass through to reach your home from mine, and that each home has a tunnel we can join up, an endless catacomb or subterranean network, if only we uncovered that heap of limp desires that lie discarded in the dank and dusty corners we were so afraid to look at. The next poem is called Strings Attached. The cup is full to the brim and will overflow. Your heart is full of love, but tells you to say no. Before you, the forest is on fire, and it rages so. You look away and pretend you just do not know. The breeze was strong, and so I held the poem up against the wind and let it go, hoping it would return in time, always altered, but still mine, like messages in a bottle sent out to sea, or homing pigeons set free. Don't we all have invisible fetters around our ankles, albeit with chains that are so long you just don't feel they're on your feet? The kite tied to a string, it soars. The other, free, stays on the floor, and I live out my life, prevaricating between holding on and letting go. The fourth one is called Taweez. I don't think I need to translate it. Taweez is a talisman that is tied. I'm lost in the questions you ask. You speak in riddles, and the answer can only be a paradox. The straight line is always elusive. I chase mirages that turn to dust at the mere whisper of a touch. They say we must carry the burden that history foists on us, don't they know? We had it in our knapsacks all the time, a talisman that we wore around our necks to remind us of stories that couldn't be told, of songs that had died on lips of unborn nights wanting to see the dawn. If we all choose the myth we want to nurture, then I have chosen mine. It's not the one you want to feed me. It's the one that sees me through the night. I'm finalizing a book of translations of the poetry of Bahinabai Chaudhary, an unlettered peasant poet from the Khandesh region of Maharashtra, who wrote, well, it's wrong to say wrote because she couldn't read or write, but who composed OVs. OVs are verse and couplet form that are sung by women in a tune while they go about their work. So in a way, you could call them work songs. She wrote in Ahirani, which is a rural dialect of Marathi. I'd like to read 3 short poems of Bahinabai. The first is about the intriguing fact that it is exactly in conditions of poverty and scarcity that things that can possibly go wrong do. So this poem is called Nahi Diya Madhe Tel. That is, there is no oil in the lamp. There is no oil in the lamp. Look, the night closes in dark and thick. At last the oil is found, and then the mouse runs away with the wick. Rolled a rag into a wick, poured oil into the lamp. Now the matchbox goes missing, the mule at a standstill again. Ah, there you sight the matchbox, beloved daughter of the fire jinn, and in it the single precious, one and only remaining matchstick. The match, it was struck, and the flame burst forth bright. Then, terrified of the gathering dark, it extinguished itself out of fright. This other one, it's just 2 couplets. So I'd like to read the Marathi version as well, if it's okay. Marathi or Ahirani, as you would like to call it. जेव्हा इमान सचोटी पापा मध्ये रे बुडाले, तेव्हा याच माणसानं किल्ल्या कुलूप घडले. किल्ल्या राहिल्या ठिकाणी जेव्हा तिजोऱ्या फोडल्या, तेव्हा याच माणसाने बेड्या लोखंडी घडल्या. In translation, when integrity and honesty were being drowned in sin, then it was man who fashioned locks and keys. The keys stayed put when the vaults were broken in and plundered. Then it was this very man who made iron, handcuffs, and fetters. The last one, Bahinabai's husband, Nathuram, had died when she was about 30 years old and left her with 3 small children and a loan of 200 rupees. She was paying this loan back for years and years, and every month the moneylender would be at her door. Bahina, her son tells, Bahina never went to the temple during this period when the loan was on her head. And this is what she spoke. Your heart, moneylender, is the size of a mustard seed. Your appetite is that of a monster. How large might your stomach be? God, just as your creation is eternal and without end, so too there is no escape in this life from indebtedness. Are Panduranga, tell me, how do I worship at your door? For between my eyes and your image looms the specter of the creditor. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali, for this absolutely scintillating array of imageries. I call upon Praful Shilidhar. Praful Shilidhar is a Mumbai-based poet. His published poetry books are Swagat, a monologue published in 1993, and Jagannacha Parasyat in The Disarray of Living, 2006, and many uncollected poems. His poems have been published in several national and international journals and anthologies. Beside 3 published books of translation, he has translated Indian, American, and Polish poetry into Marathi. Praful.
Thank you. First of all, I congratulate Anjali for bringing such a fantastic Marathi poet into English. So there is a big hidden treasure in our regional languages that should come into English and reach all of us. Secondly, I like this place also. It's very nice. There is magic realism in the air. So, even for reading and also for listening, it's really a very beautiful place. So, thank you, Kalagoda. I am a Marathi poet. I write in Marathi. But seeing the environment and the mixed audience, I will read some English translations of my original Marathi poems, few English translations and few Marathi poems. The first poem, I peeped inside a novel. I peeped inside a novel. The writer had set up glittering light at the bottom of a well that was deep like tunnel. All characters were busy living. The giant wheel of events was rotating. Characters were living life so intensely that one would not live his own life. The language had glitter, and the hopelessness was also too sharp. Even the long leaves of grass, too, had many incidents to enact. Sometime under somebody's back, or at other time under a lazy head, the grass had faced many occasions of thriving, getting bedwet of trembling, of getting crushed under tender feet or under rough boots, then of getting uprooted and even thrown away. Green leaves were displaying courage even after getting crushed. Yellow were eager to get mixed up with the soil after rowing. I started scrutinizing with subtlety if I am creeping somewhere in the scene. I reached the bottom of the well in search, started looking at the sky above, at the opening of the well. I started looking at the sky if I was flying somewhere in it. The Exiled. Next poem. I am inside the huge belly of a jet at 12,000 meters altitude. I feel supported with the soft carpet inside the belly, just like the support of a savanna I felt on the earth. Its wide and spread out wings swing like swans. They are crossing distance and air. The hard armor had kept the inside warm. How innocently and easily it is crossing the distances, along with my kinfolk, my difficulties, my distressing dreams. I go about in his belly, watching the spread out quilt of uncountable pieces stitched with shining thread of glittering river spread out all over the earth. I am being driven beyond the border without any threat of rifle, without losing my essence, without helplessness of getting humiliated by some power. I am being exiled and uprooted. But I am carrying with me as much of my soil as possible with the fear of not returning back. I am getting dissolved within the belly of the jet. I am becoming velocity of the jet. Trousers. Now, his legs will be pushed in the two tunnels of mine. He will pull the zip, tighten his belt, and start walking. I'll go wherever he leads. I'll keep licking his shoes. The rattling vehicles passing by will raise dust on me. When he will piss in the public latrine, a few drops will fall on me. He will sit on a chair after wandering here and there. I will suck all his sweat. Using me a few times, he will wash me after a week. He will iron me and use some beautiful perfume. In this hectic living before getting used, that's the only solace. Accepting the risk. While writing a poem, an ant over the corner of the table came walking, crouching, and timidly avoiding the heap of books and papers on the table. While writing a poem, an ant over the corner of the table came walking, crouching, and timidly avoiding the heap of the books and papers on the table. It turned towards the old dictionary on the other corner of the table. Thinking it might be termite, I stopped writing and without much thought, straightway crushed it with the back end of my pen. Who knows who it was? But there should neither be any doubt nor any clarification for that. An ant has no voice, no sense of creating nuisance. No legion of ants assault you for its cruel killing. No one from any caste or religion gets hurt after it's being this way killed. It's foolish to think if wife and children of that ant would become homeless, or whether its friends would be sad. It's beyond ants' reach to get organized, to protest, to take revenge, to fight. It is a lot of hope from a poet. It comes to a writer's table to enter into a poem. But even at that moment, it is encircled by dense fear and blindness. It cannot pick up the forgotten word from an old dictionary, like picking up a grain of sugar and giving it to me for using in a poem. It cannot scribble a cryptogram of its joys and sorrows with its legs on a plain paper. It has lot of expectations from a poet. That's the reason why it tries to enter a poem accepting the inherent risk of expression. But unfortunately, it gets crushed even before entering a poem at the hands of a poet. I think I should read one or two Marathi poems now. घाई. या कवितेचं शीर्षक आहे घाई. वयात येण्याची घाई झालेली एक मुलगी नाक उडवत सांगते, गुटके घेत बियर पिण्याचे दिवस गेलेत काका, आता जिभेवर सरळ कॅलिफोर्निया ड्रॉप्स हवेत. घाई झालेला विक्रेता भर रस्त्यात पकडतो, गळ्याभोवतीचा फास सारखा सैल घट्ट करतो, आजचा शेवटचा दिवस आहे, शेवटचा. घाई झालेला गायक फ्रीस्टाईल पोहत निघतो, छोट्या ख्यालाचा गज दिसताच घट्ट धरून ठेवतो. घाई झालेल्या कवीच्या संग्रहाची घाईघाईनं केलेली समीक्षा घेऊन घाई झालेला संपादक लगबगीनं पळत जातो. घाई झालेला गर्भ होऊ घातलेल्या आईलाच वैतागलेल्या आवाजात विचारतो, बाहेर येऊ देणार आहे का बाई, मोठं होऊ देत आहे की नाही. प्रेम, दुःख, निराशा, वासना, द्वेष, उल्हास घाईघाईनं प्रवेश करतात आणि स्पर्शही न करता निघून जातात. घाईचे सर्वंकष दृश्य पापणीही न उचलता पाहत असलेली कविता जवळ जाताच म्हणते, घे की रे जरा दमानं, घे की रे जरा दमानं. And the last poem of this reading. कधीच नव्हते सोपे. एक कवी भर दंगलीत रस्त्याच्या मधोमध ताठ मान करून उभा आहे. दंगलखोरांना त्याचा अंदाजच घेता येत नाही. त्यांनी कवीला घेरलंय, त्याच्यावर प्रश्नांचा बडीमार करत आहेत. कवीला काहीच आठवत नाही. कवी आपले परके ओळखत नाही. तो स्वतःची जात विसरलाय. त्याला धर्म सांगता येत नाही आहे. दंगलखोर खोदून खोदून विचारून हताश झालेत. कवी सांगतोय, तो नुकताच चित्रे, मुक्तिबोध, नेरुदा यांच्यावर बोलून परततोय. तो पुटपुटतो काही कवितेच्या ओळी. दंगलखोर अधिक संभ्रमात. कवीच्या मस्तकावर झाली आहे जखम. त्यातून भळभळणारी भाषा व्याकरणाचे नियम तोडते आहे, संप्रेषणाचे प्रयोजन सोडते आहे. निरर्थ निराकार निशब्द होत आहे. जगण्या मरण्याच्या सीमेवर उभा कवी माणूस आणि पशु यांच्या संधिकालात जगतोय. कविता लिहिण्यासारखी मातकट कृती करतोय. त्याच्याकडे लक्ष द्यायला कोणालाच वेळ नाही. दंगलखोर कधीही आपली मान छाटतील याची कल्पना असूनही रस्त्याच्या मधोमध कवी ऐन कवितेच्या चौरस्त्यात ताठ मान करून उभा आहे, चौफेर पाहात. टिपून घेतो आहे दंगलीतले ताणे बाणे. कळले आहे त्याला कधीच नव्हते सोपे या पृथ्वीवर जगणे. निसर्गाच्या लयीत स्वतःचे गाणे गाणे. समष्टीच्या अफाट रथावर आरूढ होणे. समष्टीच्या अफाट रथावर आरूढ होणे. आपणच लिहिलेल्या सुक्तांच्या इमारती ढासळवत जाणे. नवी उभारणी करण्यासाठी ताठ उभे राहणे. टिपून घेणे, शोषणे आणि पुन्हा भाषेतून स्रवणे, पुन्हा भाषेतून स्रवणे. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Mr. Shilidhar. The last time I remember a garment being used so ingenuously was in Mayakovsky's trousers, but he goes and places it in the clouds, and you give a garment a life of its own. So that's quite something. I think it's time for some insolence. Let's call upon Mustansir Dalvi to do the honors. Mustansir Dalvi is a professor of architecture at Bombay's Sir J.J. College of Architecture. His first book of poems in English, Brouhaha of Corks, was published by Poetry-Wala in 2013. He has translated Muhammad Iqbal's influential Shikwa and Jawab-e-Shikwa from Urdu as Taking Issue and Allah's Answers, published by Penguin Classics. He also contributes articles on architecture, heritage, and current affairs to publications such as Scroll, Wire, and The Hindu, among others. Stage is all yours. We want to hear some Kolatkar poems, wicked ones.
Thank you, Jennifer. And it's always a pleasure to return to the stage here with the fellow Hope Street poets. And of course, I have to thank Ranjit, comrade, for organizing this wonderful set of readings. I'll read some of my poems and perhaps a few translations. The first poem I'm going to read is called Eudynamis orientalis, which is the genus and species of the bird we all know as the koel. And we also do know that during the seasons we hear the koel, but inevitably we search for it but can't see it. The koel sings in pouring rain, her raucous refrain perforates the uniformly distributed shower crash on the garden of the David Sassoon Library. I look up from writing these lines, pleased to be partnered in the production of texts. Bird, what memes have you shaped to be carried forward virally into time? Does the signifier rain find itself embedded in the construction of a song phrase, its dampened consonants burbling like Morse through static? Among wet gulmohars and drainpipe palms, you remain concealed. Your absence completes the sign. It's an unusual pleasure and honor to have a poem read out to you. And that is just what Sampurna Chatterjee did when she was reading her set of poems. And I can tell you that whereas I know that the color of my skin is the color of overboiled chai, while she was reading it, I was blushing pink all over. So in the spirit of friendship, affection, I need to return the compliment. This is a poem written for Sampurna Chatterjee. It's called Janus Takes a Selfie, for Sampurna Chatterjee. Behind you, chalk turns to cloud, lime effloresces on wet walls, marking time for daubing pigment, fastening hue. Behind you, the doppelganger stares behind you, holding on to the power cord of possibility and restraint. Janus squats by your head, in your head. Behind you, the gossamer wire appears thick as ropes that harness clippers to shore or stymie the Archaeopteryx from the ionosphere. Behind you, in Plato's zoetrope, fires cast unbidden shadows, spinning reality like Muybridge sequences as you smile in my direction. Behind you, the taxidermist's pride in orange and blue is nailed ungently on the head of the boy who awaits any resolution for his constipation. Behind you is perched a kingfisher, not an albatross. Take off, do the triple Lindy, dive into the shallow pool. Choose your prey. I'd like to read two prose poems which are based on buildings. One of them, of course, is a very famous one, and the other is a building that was never built. The first poem I'm reading is called Casa Batlló, which is a very famous building designed by the Spanish architect Antoni Gaudí in Barcelona. The great reptile gazes up at the deliberate fisher of New Spain. Tinctured scales click in climatic readjustment. Cutting off rays, the sunset scatters over ceramic shards. From his vintage, the Catalonian night measures the cardinal's glance, facing down the next 100 years, seeing much, doing nothing. The disheveled with effort turns, ignoring for a moment the slow ooze, the fulfillment of an uncertain death wish. He stares down ferocious Madrid, carapace crackling in the heat of the Barcelona sunset. The reptile barely spares a glance at the failing man, instead tightens his scalene grip on the bedrock. His claws append the earth in funicular steadiness. Barcelona gathers to watch. The decrepit lies in slow ooze. The envoy from Madrid avoids his touch, enters under whitewashed pediments to regular 8-course meals. The cross of Batlló, the gecko at Güell, denizens from the sea-swept crags of Mila, half-executed angels from the Familia, ignore the man in the torn overcoat, the receding clip-clops of the hit-and-run cart. They have their own agendas and could await the martyrdom of yet another Catalan patriot rather than spare a thought for another body that lays down in the larger scheme of life. This next poem is about a building that was never built. Had it been, I'm sure it would have been on the travel brochures of Bombay and in all the pictures normally advertising in the manner of the Gateway of India. And this is a building which was intended to be a very large kiln for baking ceramics in the School of Art in Bombay. You can see pictures of it. It's highly unusual, very organic, but was never built. This poem is called Platonic Mills. Like an upended udder whose bovine nipple squirts smoke instead of milk into the skies across Mumba Devi, a hydra-mouthed surahi, an ear misinterpreted from written instructions put out by the Ray Arts Workshop, a torso shaped by fire brick, deflated by gravity, its resultant the shapelessness of an odalisque portrayed soon after childbirth, a belch born of fires in the stomach. It remains an acknowledged embarrassment, unpretty but functional. Function, it seems, is the great driver of the coming aesthetic. It is the new age of utilitarian exploration whose inherencies call to be tweezed out and laid bare for edification and profit. The ceramics master holds himself as precedent, progenitor of a school soon to subsume the salon into retail boutique. More is more. To the east, incoming vessels align prows with vaporous polychrome columns twisting Bernini-esque nor-northwest, making chromatic variations with potassium perchlorate, zinc chloride, and white phosphors against the background of the satanic mills, uniform smokers of Tuscan grey that spray vertically from lenticels and commingle to a wash. Cylindrical leeches populate the first reclamations that betrayed the islands and made them captive. cheer, they veer to the vapors rather than make for the untrustworthy tree in the front of the town hall, or the Prongs lighthouse, still incomplete. Unlike the burning of hay and dung, the school smokes reliably, a Habana cigar exhaled in perpetuity by night and by day. Such is the influx of business that Wonderland perpetuates. Just one damn order after another. Terry be praised. Upstairs, beyond the large windows, the painter's class silently curses heat that has leached the Bombay humidity. Oils crack even as they are slapped on canvas. Marble, freshly supplied from Naples, loses sheen to toxic caresses of cobalt carbonate that fix the glaze, or to opacifiers like zirconium oxide that give human-sized urns their cabaret bulge, so prized by fin de siècle aristocracy. Over the last year or so, I have been obsessed by the translation of a book of poems by Arun Kolatkar. The collection is called Chirimiri, and he has absolutely spectacular poems in that, which I am delighting in translating into English, and I do that slowly to extend the pleasure. I have never read out these poems to an audience, and I would like to kind of test drive them, if I may. Chirimiri is about a person called Balwant Bua, who is a person who was known to Arun Kolatkar in some form, especially in his old age. Balwant Bua, not Kolatkar's. And he was a great raconteur of stories and would tell him lots of stories and very likely a lot of lies. His life was that of a bhajan singer in a temple. And in Chirimiri, very wonderfully, the story is in two parts. One is where he is escorting a group of 107 ladies to the temple town of Pandharpur. Balwant Bua is a great devotee of Vitthal and Rakhumai. And also he has these memories of his early age, the days when India was still under colonial rule. And the first poem I'm reading is of that. He does many jobs in his life, and one of the jobs he does is as a shopkeeper, a seller of fruit. And he has this particular penchant of stealing money and secreting it inside fruit. Okay, just pushing it in a fruit so that it kind of remains there. The name of this poem is Amba, or mango. Should one invest in mangoes? Loads of profit to be made, so they say. What has been your experience? I got buggered, said Balwant Bua morose. Never put your money in mangoes. I found a nice overripe mango no one would want. Hid 2 8 annas and 3 4 annas inside, but then I lost them all to a Pathan. Bua says, mangoes caused my downfall. Do not put your money in mangoes at all. He came to my shop, casually picked the fruit. How was he to know about the hidden loot? I showed him another, but he wanted this very one. He towered over puny me. What the fuck could I do? Never put your money in mangoes, you. Even so, I tried to hem and haw, but from his pocket he pulled out a hacksaw and right there started to slice that very mango. Is this any way to behave? Go home at least. Never put your money in mangoes, I insist. In my own shop, the man ate the Alfonso. The coins spilled. He screamed, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Your Allah is right here, I thought, minding the galla. Balwant Bua says, that's how I got broke. if you put your money in mangoes, you will choke. Now tell me, is this Allah so dumb to put all his money into mangoes? Aren't there other banks in this world, says Balwant Bua? Pay heed, this old man knows. Never ever put your money in mangoes. Time is all right? 2 poems. This is another poem also situated in colonial times. And the name of this poem is पॅट्रिक केलीच्या ऑफिसात झालेल्या एका प्रायोगिक भजनाचा अपूर्व ग्रहदूषित वृत्तांत. A highly one-sided report of a bhajan session in the chambers of Patrick Kelly. Patrick Kelly was the police commissioner. And Balwant Bua is present when a concert is going on in the police commissioner's office, especially by another character called Govind Bua. And he is appalled at Govind Bua taking the abhang and trying to Europeanize it. And this poem has a refrain after every verse, which actually comes from an abhang by Jnaneshwar called Roop Pahata Lochani. And the refrain is Hato Vitthal Barwa, Hato Madhav Barwa. Or rather, oh that Vitthal, he is good. Oh that Madhav, he is good. And what I suggest is either in your mind or aloud after every verse, that is what you all have to repeat. Va Govind Bua, you are some piece of work, giving the abhang a swinging big band rhythm. The day before in the police commissioner's chamber, what a fine mess you made of Roop Pahata. Oh, that Vitthal, he's good. Oh, that Madhav, he's good. As Govind Bua let loose a European strain, Vitthal Munde got a crick in his neck. What need was there to shake his head so, tossing around compliments for no reason at all? Oh, that Vitthal, he's good. Oh, that Madhav, he's good. While the brouhaha unfolded before Kelly Sahib, the harmonium was pounded by Atmaram Khatik, who should have been arrested that very instant, if nothing, to save the poor music box from abuse. Oh, that Vitthal, he's good. Oh, that Madhav, he's good. Well, Atmaram, what were you playing? Mud? All the 7 surs trembled together in fear. The poor harmonium in the hands of the butcher, string him up by the neck while there is still the chance. Oh, that Vitthal, he is good. Oh, that Madhav, he is good. Wah wah, Govind Bua. What kind of rag was this? Going up, down, back and forth, all over the place. Those rubberneck rhythms and this mad-ass rag. All your pyrotechnic notes set the song on fire. Oh, that Vitthal, he is good. Oh, that Madhav, he is good. And this is a portrait on the wall. Stop this racket and I'll grant you freedom, George V screamed on hearing this chant. My beard has started to itch like mad. Won't someone please scratch the beard of the king? Oh, that Vitthal, he is good. Oh, that Madhav, he is good. The Sahib himself thumped Govind on the back, asked him to meet his clerk the very next day, said that he would grant him a nice certificate. Not a care in the world now for Govind Bua. Oh, that Vitthal, he is good. Oh, that Madhav, he is good. He carries the Sahib's testimonial tightly in a roll and shows the cursive sign to all who will see. Common folk are in awe from Mandvi to Worli. Balwant Bua shakes his head. Oh, great, just great. Oh, that Vitthal, he is good. Oh, that Madhav, he is good. And I'd like to end with a small poem from Chirimiri. This is also a poem which I think when we look at Kolhatkar and you say look at Jezuri and you look at Chirimiri and all that, this is deep sense of devotion which emerges, a deep sense of bhakti which emerges in extremely funny ways. This is really the expression of a personal God, of a God with whom you can talk in any way, you can have conversations, you can abuse, you can, be intimate with. And there are several such poems. In Jezuri, you see that in relation to Khandoba, but in Chirimiri, you see that in relation to Vitthal and Rakumai. This is a very lovely short poem called Ball, Ball, Ball. And anyone who has played cricket on the streets knows this refrain. Ball, ball, ball. There's a soul within us all, and when we die, they say it travels upwards to heaven somewhere. That's what some of the greatest saints say. But Balwant has made up his own mind. These saints, are small and can be hurt. So they bowl slowly to you on purpose. My window is broken, says Tuka. Take the bat away from his hands. He's hit a boundary, says Muktabai. He's reached Pandhari in one shot. Throw him out of the grounds, says umpire Nyandev. The ball bounced into the sanctum, hit the brick, and rolled to a stop by Vittal's feet. Ball, 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 screams Bua loudly, waving his hands, but still does not comprehend that Vithoba is unable to bend from the waist. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Tansir, for bowling us over with some serious bodyline bowling. Douglas Jardine would be ashamed. I'd like to call Anand Thakur. Anand Thakur is a Mumbai-based poet and teacher of Hindustani vocal music. Waking in December, Elephant Bathing, and Mughal Sequences are his 3 collections of poetry. His poetry and critical writing on music and poetry have appeared in leading national and international journals and anthologies. A Hindustani classical vocalist by profession, he is the founder of Harbour Line, a publishing collective, and runs Kshitij, an interactive forum for musicians. Please give a round of applause to Anand Thakur.
Nice to be back here at Kala Ghar. And the 2 poems I'm going to start with relate to 2 festivals that arrive exactly this time of the year each year. Mahashivratri, the night of Shiva, and Holi, the festival of color. This also reminds me of my days in Elphinstone College back there studying Sanskrit with Professor Kshir Sagar and Ranjit Hoskote as my senior. The first poem invokes Kamdev, the Vedic god of sex and lust, and in the context of Mahashivratri, because as many people here would know, Kamdev was reduced to this heap of ash when Shiva opened his third eye and he was trying to disturb Shiva at his meditations. I have a little Sanskrit epigraph which I will quote before beginning this poem. It's Kamdev addressing the season of spring, Vasant, his old friend. Shadaksharam idam stotram yaha pathe chivasannidhau Shivalokam shivena sahamodate. As my grandfather was fond of saying sometimes. All you who chant the 6 syllables of this song in the presence of Shiva, all you shall rise into the realm of Shiva, abide in delight in the realm of Shiva. Shiva Shadakshara Stotram. Kamdev muses upon the death of the body. Who amongst the mountain-minded, the glacial seers, the serpent-couched and lotus-seated, who amongst the all-fathering mentors, the many-headed ones, wielders of strange weapons, or that great host of singers in celestial halls, commissioned forever to praise their presence, who amongst the great guardians of order, the planet masters, the lords of the 8 directions, or the sages, kings, and mortal prophets of earth? Who amongst the gods can sing more truly than I the song flesh sings, or relate more clearly the tale of the soul's unyielding survival? None more truly than I, Vasanta, primeval accomplice, dearest of seasons. None surely amongst you, my siblings in the skies. For I am Kamdev, spirit of desire, survivor of fire, who has laughed and danced in the wake of the body's death. O Kamdev am I, the fire in your loins that you may not fly. No shape have I, though the flesh is my home. Your many arms, my minions, your eyes, my concubines, as I quiver at the tip of your prurient tongues. O Kamdev am I, though the Lord of the third eye, for his own hidden purposes, assigns me to perpetual invisibility. Be bold, season, confidant and companion, ancient yet brief. Bring out your blossoms, be the body I cannot be, wear all the colors I am not permitted to wear. The warblers you summon, I teach them flight. The hues you sport are my most fervent votaries, and not a leaf, not a wing, not a limb, not a tail persists without my assistance. No, Vasanta, not a blossom can bloom where I choose not to be, which, as you know, is almost nowhere except where the master casts his third eye. Ah, I shall not fear him, Vasanta, not tonight as on any other. For night and I are ancient connivers, and in the realms of the flesh I have nothing to lose. Tonight, as on any other, I shall crawl through the veins of beast and man, proclaiming triumph or wrecking hearts doomed to wreckage. Oh, I shall sail upon churning oceans, cold seas of sweetened milk and hemp, to witness the drowning of terrestrial lovers, the success of my ploys in the courtyards of shrines. And I will have the lovers of this world begging Shiva for mercy, for I am Kamdev, spirit of desire, survivor of fire. O Kamdev am I, the fire in your veins that does not die. The wise are deluded when they think I sleep, for their loins are my vassals, their hands my cupbearers. They who now gather, Vasanta, these furtive multitudes, fervently hearkening to my cry, though none may ever hear me, for no shape have I, Vasanta, O Kamdev am I. And then we move to the festival of color from Mahashivratri, which has a very dark side to it, one that my modern sensibility is wholly uncomfortable with, the burning of Holika. I fail to resonate with that ritual. It smells too much of sati for my comfort. Holika, of course, is seen as a demoness popularly, but there is also a folk version of the tale in which she's celebrated as a woman who sacrifices herself to save Prahlad. Holika. Holi, March 24th, 2016, being the night of the last full moon in the month of Falgun and the season of Vasant. One, quintessence of all in woman best assigned to flame, demoness, witch, sorceress to most, yet martyr, saint, and devotee to some. I return with spring as in the year before, to suffer amongst the living yet another immolation. See, how soon amidst the songs and sudden blooms of this season, it grows into a cause for dance and merriment, the reenactment of my death. Observe how relieved they appear to be rid of me again, these pious throngs, now laved by the febrile ritual of my passing, the annual fire purge before the morning's festivities. I return for reasons rarely known to the living, best kept from them till they are ready to receive them. For only the living can afford to question the ways of God. And it is not for the dead to wonder why we were chosen to play the parts we played. No longer my part to question this ecstatic survival of sons, this burning of women, or why my death each year must remain for so many a cause for joy, a great reason for song in the land I return to. 2. Legend at times has attempted to be kind to me, suggesting I succumbed to the flames of my own free will to keep the young prince from harm. That is not what happened, of course. I connived with the king for my own safety and out of fear of pain, and it was God, as always, God, interfering, irrefutable, who sent the gust that blew the shawl from my shoulders, throwing my body to the fire, protecting the boy. I have no wish to be considered a saint, though there are those on earth who prefer to believe my tale a tale of sacrifice. There remains a place reserved for women like us in the realms of the dead, a place for burnt women who died so that the circle could be complete, hurt nature healed, a great balance restored. God, the human lion who clawed at my brother's guts and tore them apart, has in his mercy ensured us this, that our part in the tales of men, though invariably misremembered, may never be forgotten. Now, as the heart of the north grows light, surrendering itself to color, and the infinitesimal hues of hemp play out their games in the mind of man, recall our torched bones. All you who still breathe, revering fire, who dance and drench yourselves and lift your notes in jubilation at my death, keep at heart the black heap I was born to burn down to, as you spray one another with brief jets of vermilion. Revere the fire at the core of your dancing, your funeral pyre. At this point, I usually shift to something lighter, but I'm sorry to inform you that I'm going to get a little more gruesome. I'm going to read a poem about a young Buddhist monk who committed suicide some years ago in Chennai. I read this newspaper article which inspired me to compose 4 scrolls. So my next book is called 7 Deaths and 4 Scrolls. These scrolls are supposedly composed by the ghost of this monk when he's in this interim period between 2 lives. I will read the little excerpt from the newspaper first. It's called Buddhist Monk Hangs Self. A 24-year-old Buddhist monk committed suicide at the Mahabodhi Society in Egmore, Chennai on Sunday. Police said the monk did not leave any suicide note, but had written in his diary that he wanted to find peace of mind. He was to catch a train to Bodh Gaya, Bihar, on Monday morning. The New Indian Express, Jan 17th, 2013. Buddhist monk hangs self. Scroll 3. The train I was to catch still leaves 3 times a week from a station I could not make it to. Swift frames of forbidding landscapes, brief village, grim township, inaccessible field, quickening desolation, cold scenes that deny habitation, sealed off by glass, slide past its passengers. My brethren amongst them, orange-robed and reassured by the belief that they hasten toward some cherished center, which each of them in turn was born to arrive at. The train that lugs them on will have to break down, perhaps, leaving them stranded in some listless, inhospitable waste between 2 stations, for them to see that they race not further inwards from the periphery of life towards envisioned redemption, but helplessly around the center they imagine. The train they are on board will have to break down for them to see that when they arrive at the place they are making for, they will remain as removed from it as from those landscapes that pass them by while the train still moves. The train that takes them to Gaya, which I was to catch, and which still leaves 3 times a week from a station I could not make it to. And then there's this, the Buddhist idea of reincarnation and a sense of being in this interim, not knowing what's coming, what's to come now. Scroll 4. Because being human is more than I have deserved, and to exist is to want something, even in this dimension, I request to be reborn amongst the higher mammals. For to desire is to survive, though I know better now than to place my trust in the prayer of the will, to pretend that some range of possible assorted births might lie before one for one's choosing, as shirts once seemed to hang in shopping arcades. Though I am here to surrender the myth of choice, let the fleshless voice that I am wish on while it can. No, not for the wings of mountain eagles, nor, though both have been considered, for the serpent's infinite flexibility, only to be born amongst herds of wild elephants, deer or bison, amongst panthers or whales. For this, because desire is survival, I pray. Make me less than human, but warm-blooded for sure. Let gravity draw me as a single maternal growl from the throat of a mountain bear draws to her breasts her newborn cubs. Receive me, earth. I lose sight of myself and feel your sudden weight. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Since we're running a little short of time, I'll introduce Kamal sir briefly. Kamal Vora is a Mumbai-based poet along with Naushil Mehta, and he's the co-editor of Itad, a quarterly Gujarati literary magazine. His first anthology of poems, Arav, was published in 1991, followed by two more anthologies in 2012 and 2014. I'd like to welcome you to the stage, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Kala Goda, and thank you, Ranjit. Since we have overstretched the session, I'll be brief. I'll curtail my reading. Yeah. Okay. The title of the poem is Crow. White snow-clad mountain range on the upmost peak is poised, a mute, motionless, lone, black crow. Behind mass after mass of skies in blue flow by in rapid strides, till the crow flies off, till the crow stays on, mobile, still, hum, hush, truth and falsehood, fragment, whole, moment, time, nothing is there, sheer nothing. In the midst of change of white turning into blue and blue into white is a lone black crow. Up to far away in a distance, blue waters. Exactly midway, a crow. Sky of molten gold casts shadows on its feathers. If the crow flies, the ocean rushes forth at a thunderous speed. If the crow does not fly, the ocean waters in slow motions transform into dark boulders solid in black. Daggered in my chest by a long pointed beak, I cross across the crow. At the far end, I face incalculable crows in glaring gold, their beaks reverberating echoes of the roaring ocean. Blue suns in the distance, behind them the black skies. If I turn my back, the crows would whirl around and encircle me. If I do not turn, the crows ever so slowly would change into a smog of misty blues. Within my bosom, something water-like is resplendent. I turn into a bluish stone. In front of me lies a golden mist. Far away in the distance, a black crow. Sheets of paper. Nothing is more delicate, transparent, sacred, truthful, beautiful than the blank sheet of paper. Time, the destroyer, effaces knowledge, effaces ignorance, ambition, esteem, and world inflection, effaces names, effaces bone, flesh, and skin, effaces desire, anger, greed, infatuation, pride, and envy, effaces stone, brick, and building, effaces colonies, effaces city and its first citizen, effaces mustard seeds, dust specks, mountains, and valleys. Time releases them in slow progression. Transcending time, I keep the sheet of paper blank. Just as skies glide in and out of clean and tranquil waters of a lake, mist pour down incessantly to engulf the entire universe into an unified entity. Sand grains swish to rise in a column of whirlwind in the desert. Sea waves rise in high tide and keep heaving and turbulating in the ocean. Exactly like this, just like this goes on happening in the blank sheet of paper. These are three small poems from the last collection, which is entitled Vruddha Shatak, that is 100 poems on old age. The old man has forgotten his name and address. He just sits quietly. If a stranger asks a question, he smiles a little and struggles to catch with his shaking hands the light of the evening sun, playing hide and seek in the shade of the tree. With the end of his stick, he draws line in the dust, then erases them. When someone known to him reminds him his name or gives directions to his home, he slips into deep thought. The old man listens and smiles vacantly. An old man counts leaves falling from a tree. 1, 2, 3. When many leaves fall together, his count stumbles. When a leaf falls and is blown away, he is confused. When the leaves cease to fall, he stares at the fallen leaves. When he tires of counting, the old man bends and picks up each leaf, putting it in the basket, stumbling in his counting. The last one. He did not know whether he was growing lonely because he was old or whether he was growing old because he was lonely. He did not understand how long he would keep growing old, growing lonely. He did not know whether he was more old or more lonely. He could not figure out whether old age was better or loneliness. He did not understand whether it was age that made him swing between being and non-being, or was it loneliness. Like the seed in the tree or the tree in the seed, he did not understand. He had not been able to understand. He was not going to understand, but he did know. He was growing old and he was lonely. Thank you very much.